quite well. I haven't heard any new information, but, we spend so much time at that airport. In fact, we live at that Delta terminal because it was an airline that flew us to Tallahassee. I can tell you that the Broward Sheriff's Office has always done a tremendous job. You see security there, all the time. You never feel, you never, ever imagine something like this. You don't feel unsafe going through there, especially when you probably are there almost every week. So it's just shocking. But I don't have any new information to tell at this point.
Is there usually, the airport well, the baggage claim, the Delta baggage claim at Terminal 2, is there usually police, law enforcement on the scene at baggage claim, even though it's outside the security, the TSA perimeter?
You notice that the Broward Sheriff's Office does a tremendous job, and you certainly know that they're patrolling it. You notice the patrolmen and women there quite often. So, yes, you do see patrol people there all the time.
Jeremy Ring is a former Florida state senator who knows that airport well, flies out and in of the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. Thanks, Senator, for joining us. Cedric Alexander is with us still. He's our CNN law enforcement analyst. He's joining us on the phone. Cedric, now that the Broward County Sheriff's Office has confirmed multiple people dead, earlier we reported at least 9 people injured, ATF, FBI. They are apparently all on the scene right now. This is going to be a thorough investigation. They got to figure out what happened and learn from this and try to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. And here again, Wolf, it's going to be all federal law enforcement agencies and local police there in South Florida will be coordinating together in terms of this investigation, which will probably turn into a federal investigation at some point as well. So this being very early still in this unfortunate incident where there has been now loss of life, and we still, it being as early as it is, who knows whether that number is going to go higher or not. So I just think throughout the course of the afternoon, as we learn more and able to share more, we'll know more about this. But it's going to be interesting as to who is this perpetrator, where he or she came from, who are they associated with, what are their affiliations, was this a lone attack, or did they get an assistance from anyone, externally, internally, we don't know. Those are all very preliminary questions that is going to be determined by the investigative sources now that are being dispatched to that airport.
We're seeing crowds of individuals climbing stairs, going back inside the terminal. They had rushed outside onto the tarmac, but now apparently they're being allowed back in. That's an encouraging sign, Cedric, isn't it?
It's an encouraging sign, but I wouldn't read too much into it at this point, Wolf, because here again, Fort Lauderdale Airport is a pretty big airport, and it's configured in a very sophisticated type of way. You have a great sheriff's department down there and local law enforcement. I worked in law enforcement in that community there in South Florida, and they're going to do a very thorough job in terms of making sure they have opportunities to witness, to interview any witnesses that were in and around that event when it occurred, but they're going to have to be and will be very methodical in their investigation.
The Fort Lauderdale Airport, Cedric just tweeted that all services at the airport have now been suspended. They do that usually in an incident like this. Here's the tweet. All services are temporarily suspended at Fort Lauderdale International Airport. They do that usually in an incident like this where the shooter is in custody out of an abundance of caution, right?
Absolutely. Here again, you may have a shooter in custody, but still very early in this investigation, we don't know who else may or may not have been involved in some type of way. So this is still early. That airport is probably going to shut down for some considerable amount of time. It certainly is going to affect flights across the country where there may have been connecting flights. But quite frankly, that is very minor in terms of what just occurred at that airport. So yes, to your point, you're absolutely right, Wolf.
We're getting more information, Cedric, from the Broward County Sheriff. He tweeted just moments ago that shots were fired. You can see that communications received a call around 12:55, just before 1 p.m. Eastern, about shots fired at 100 Terminal Drive at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International airport. We also just got a statement from the governor of Florida. Let me read it to our viewers. This is Rick Scott's office. We have initial reports of a shooting at Fort Lauderdale International Airport. At this time, state law enforcement do not have confirmed information of fatalities, injuries, or motive. Governor Scott is currently traveling to Fort Lauderdale to be briefed by law enforcement. We will continue to provide details as we receive them. The statement goes on to say, also, ATF, that's the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, tweeted they are responding to the shooting to assist state and local partners. And Javier De Diego, one of our producers at CNN, spoke to the FBI Miami spokesperson, who gave him the following statement. This statement is from the Miami FBI spokesperson, quote, "We are aware of the situation and are in contact with local authorities. No further information is available at this time." Presumably, Cedric, they're going to want to make a public statement sooner rather than later to explain, not only to people in South Florida, but all across the U.S., indeed the world, what exactly happened.
That would be correct. Here again, I think once the governor of Florida gets on the ground there and gets briefed by the appropriate law enforcement agencies, I'm quite sure at some point they're going to make a statement publicly in terms as to what they know and what they're capable of sharing in this investigation. And there will be some things that they can share with the public, and there are going to be some things, of course, that they're not going to be able to share merely because it's still early investigation. But you can be pretty much assured that at some point, once the governor and others have an opportunity to be briefed, they will share that information with the rest of the country.
All activities at the airport are suspended. Flights coming in, going out. We're told our aviation correspondent, Renee Marsh, is still with us. Aviation, you're getting more information. What else are you learning?
Well, Wolf, as investigators are here and trying to figure out exactly what sparked this shooting, where now we are learning that multiple people are dead, the sidebar story to all of this is just that completely a standstill as far as operations. I mean, we know that the airport has shut down operations. The FAA just blasted out a warning saying there will be delays because of this security event. Obviously, many of the passengers who were in this area at the time will be critical to law enforcement officials because they will have key information about the events and exactly how they unfolded, who was involved, who was targeted. Any sort of color will help investigators figure out a motive here, which to my understanding is still unknown. As we mentioned just a few minutes ago, ATF is on the way. The FBI is also in contact with individuals there. You have Fort Lauderdale police there. Of course, the airport is under the jurisdiction of Broward County Sheriff's Office. So you have a pool of law enforcement resources descending on this very busy airport, which again now is at a standstill to try to figure out a motive here. You have in the open there, someone opening fire within the baggage claim area. Again, that happened in Terminal 2, Wolf. We know that Delta Airlines operates out of that terminal. But again, at this point, you would imagine that they've formed this perimeter around the airport as well to keep the flow of individuals in and out as they try to piece this whole thing together, Wolf.
You know, Cedric Alexander, we're told it's almost exactly just a little bit more than 1 hour ago that the shots were fired at the baggage claim at the Fort Lauderdale International Airport. As Renee says, the Delta terminal, that would be Terminal 2 at this usually very busy airport, especially on a Friday. That airport is now shut down. This is going to be a complicated investigation, and it's only just beginning, Cedric, right now. Federal, state, local authorities all will be involved, including the FAA.
It is very early in this investigation. 1 hour into this scene, Wolf, is a very short period of time. They're still going to, it's a lot of information still to be gathered through whatever video recordings they have there, through witness statements, just a host of things that are going on as we speak. So it's going to be some time before that airport, I can only imagine, becomes operational again, which here again is going to affect other flights across the country where they're connecting flights. But the most important thing is keeping everyone safe and making some real determination as to what had happened, who's involved, who's the person in custody. And we will learn more of this as time goes on, but this is just 1 hour into this investigation, into this event. But we will know more as time continues to move on.
Now, I assume, Cedric, that out of an abundance of caution, a lot of other airports here in the United States, whether LaGuardia in New York or LAX out in Los Angeles or Washington Reagan National here in Washington, D.C., they're probably just beefing up their security at baggage claim just to be sure in case there's copycats or anything along those lines.
Absolutely. We don't know the reason for this attack that occurred in Fort Lauderdale. So I can only imagine that every airport across this country are taking precautionary efforts now by staying very alert, which is not unusual. We do that anyway, but certainly taking some real precautionary measures in each airport across this country where everyone has to remain very vigilant. But we also have to continue to move around and travel and be a democratic society in which we are, and do not allow this to shake us, but us to be aware. But where we can continue to move people through the transportation industry, we have to do that. That's the strength of America. We're going to be courageous, and we're going to continue to do the things we need to do as we look into, as they look into and investigate what's going on in Fort Lauderdale, and report to the rest of the country and the world as to what we know, what they will determine to be the reason for this attack.
We're following the breaking news, a shooting at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport in South Florida. Multiple dead, multiple injured. Newsroom with Brooke Baldwin picks up our breaking news coverage.